In the depths of the night, in the winter darkness of Tupelo, Mississippi, on January 8, 1935, the world received a voice that would one day echo through generations. In a modest, almost dilapidated cabin, Gladys Presley, struggling with the pains of childbirth, could not have imagined that she was on the verge of bringing a legend into the world. The wind lashed the windows, and the wooden floors creaked under the weight of the moment. The first cry of little Elvis Aaron Presley broke the tension in the air, while his twin, Jesse Garon, born dead, silently bore the weight of the tragedy that would forever mark Elvis's life. This dual melody of life and death echoed through the room, as if foretelling the unusual path this little boy would take. Gladys, with eyes full of tears and a heart torn between joy and sorrow, held her surviving son, knowing that his life would be filled with a special purpose. Vernon Presley, a young and inexperienced father, stood in the corner of the room, overwhelmed with a sense of responsibility and fear of an uncertain future. Elvis's early life in Tupelo was intertwined with music that vibrated through the poor streets, gospel echoing from church choirs, country melodies emanating from neighboring bars, and the rhythm of blues pulsating through the community. These diverse sounds were like colors painting the canvas of his soul, each note contributing to the creation of a unique artistic identity. Young Elvis, with eyes full of curiosity and a heart seeking its place in the world, found solace in music. His mother, aware of her son's uniqueness, often caught him daydreaming by the radio, his young voice trying to capture the melody and rhythm of the songs that filled the air. Throughout these early years, in the small home in Tupelo, the foundation of what would become a legend was being forged. Every hardship, every moment of joy, every note of music was woven into the soul of the young man who would one day become Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll, a man whose music would transform the world. But in that cabin in Tupelo, he was just Elvis, a boy with a voice waiting for his moment, a boy who had to learn to sing his song from early tragedy. The city of Memphis, with its sweltering streets and pulsating rhythms, was like a magical stage awaiting Elvis Presley. In this city, where the word opportunity meant more than just letters, young Elvis and his family sought a new beginning. This relocation in his teenage years was not just a change of address, it was a transition to a new world, a world brimming with musical dreams. Memphis in the 1950s was a place where various musical styles collided and merged. In Elvis, these styles, gospel, blues, country, found their synthesis, creating something entirely new and electric. His soul, already shaped by the music of Tupelo, now pulsated with new urban rhythms. At that time, the world had yet to know about Elvis Presley, but the universe had already begun to align, leading him to Sun Records, where producer Sam Phillips awaited. Phillips, a man with an ear for the unusual and revolutionary, immediately recognized something special in Elvis's voice: raw energy and inexplicable charisma. When Elvis recorded "That's All Right," the sound of that song was not just the beginning of his career. It was the moment when rock and roll was born in its purest form. The song quickly became a hit, resonating on radios and jukeboxes, capturing the hearts and imaginations of young America. Elvis's rise was meteoric. His combination of musical styles, along with his charismatic performance, made him not just a singer, but a symbol. He became the voice of a generation, an icon that bridged cultural differences and brought new energy to American popular culture. Every one of his performances was a spectacle. His movement on stage, his unique style of dress, and his magnetic voice that could be simultaneously tender and raw. Elvis was not just singing songs. He was the song, a living, breathing incarnation of rock and roll. In Memphis, in the Sun Records studio, and later on the world stages, Elvis Presley was not just building a career, he was building a legend. Every chord, every movement, every word he spoke or sang was woven into the fabric of music history. This part of his life, from an anonymous young man to the king of rock and roll, was like an incredible dream unfolding before the eyes of the world. Elvis Presley, the boy from Tupelo, became more than a singer. He became a symbol, a myth, a man who changed the course of musical history. In an era when the silver screen was a kingdom of dreams, Elvis Presley stepped into the world of the film industry as well. bringing with him his musical fame and undeniable charismatic glow. His rise in movies was a cinematic story in itself. From a young man with Southern roots to a star illuminating cinemas around the world. His first film, Love Me Tender, was more than a debut. It was the moment when the rock and roll icon transformed into a film star. Every frame movement, every smile, every gesture on the screen reflected not only Elvis's natural acting ability, but also his ability to connect the emotional power of his music with the visual magic of film. His films, like Jailhouse Rock and Viva Las Vegas, became classics, cinematic equivalents of his greatest hits, where each scene vibrated with the energy of his presence. Elvis's filmography was like a mosaic of his life. Each movie was a piece of the puzzle, creating the picture of a man who was much more than a musician or actor. He was an icon, a wizard who could bridge the worlds of music and film with his talent, leaving us with a wealth of scenes and melodies that resonate through time, reminding us of the unique star who once walked among us. In the shadow of the glittering stages and the adoration of millions, there lay another, much more intimate world of Elvis Presley, a world filled with personal challenges and emotional battles. Although his career continued to grow, reaching unprecedented heights, his personal life was like a quiet melody, filled with shades of sadness and joy. In 1967, amidst the whirlwind of fame, Elvis entered into matrimony with Priscilla Beaulieu. Their wedding, like a fairy tale, was an event that captured the attention of the entire world. Elvis, the king of rock and roll, and Priscilla, his queen, appeared as the perfect couple, a symbolic union of love and glamour. With the birth of their daughter, Lisa Marie, the image of the perfect family seemed complete. However, beneath the surface, in the depths of Elvis's soul, battles were fought that the public could not see. Fame and success brought with them a burden that became increasingly heavy. Elvis's dependence on prescription drugs, which began as a way to cope with the pressures of fame and an exhausting schedule, quickly grew into a dark shadow, casting a stain on his life and career. His health and performances began to suffer. Once energetic and charismatic, his performances were now marked by moments of fatigue and unpredictability. Elvis's indomitable spirit, once a symbol of his strength, now began to show signs of fragility. The divorce from Priscilla in 1973 was another blow that shook his world. This event was not just the end of a marriage, but also a symbol of the loss of personal stability that Elvis so desired. His relationship with Priscilla, once full of love and passion, was now just another memory of what could have been. Elvis's struggle with drug dependency became increasingly serious, affecting every aspect of his life. His closest ones, witnesses to his inner struggle, felt powerless in their attempts to help him. As the years passed, Elvis, once a shining star, was now a man fighting to preserve his light in an increasingly darker world. In these difficult times, Elvis's talent and charisma never waned, but the burden he carried became too great. His personal life, filled with challenges and battles, was a contrast to his public image, an image that concealed the depth of his human vulnerability. On August 16, 1977, the hot summer air in Memphis was filled with unspoken despair. In Graceland, a home that was more than walls and roofs, a sanctuary for the king of rock and roll, a tragedy occurred that would forever change music history. Elvis Presley, the man whose voice was an anthem for generations, a symbol of a life larger than life itself, died of a heart attack, a tragic end likely caused by years of prescription drug abuse. The news of his death spread like lightning, shocking the world. Fans, friends, family, and colleagues all shared the same sense of loss, as if a part of each of them had gone with him. Graceland became a place of pilgrimage, a place where tears and songs mingled in an unusual rhythm of grief and remembrance. But the death of Elvis Presley was more than the end of a single life. It was the beginning of a new chapter in his legend. Despite the darkness that shrouded his final days, the legacy he left behind was indelible and powerful. Elvis was not just a singer. He was an innovator, a symbol, an icon that crossed generational, cultural, and musical boundaries. His music, over time, became more than melodies and words. It became part of the global cultural identity, testifying to the power of art to outlive its creator. His songs, from Heartbreak Hotel to Suspicious Minds, became timeless, while his performances and style remained unforgettable. Elvis's impact on the music industry was monumental. He changed the way music is produced, presented, and experienced. He was a pioneer in many aspects, from the way he sang to the way he communicated with the audience. His contributions to rock and roll, country, blues, and gospel were the foundation on which many later careers were built. Though Elvis left this world, his presence has never faded. His spirit continues to live in the hearts and minds of millions around the globe. Graceland, his home, has become a museum, a testament to his life, his love for music, and his indomitable spirit. Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll, left the world something much more than a collection of songs or a series of concerts. He left a part of himself in the fabric of human history, an indelible mark that will forever resonate through the corridors of time, reminding us of the power of art to transform, inspire, and unite.